Welcome to the beautiful city of Athens, the gateway to the Tennessee Valley, a city rooted in deep community relationships and built on a rich tradition of small local business and the very best of the human spirit. As Athens embraces the future, the signs of progress are in full bloom. Join us as we discover the bright spots in this charming southern city that we call home. This is Hometown Heartbeat, Athens. Powers. Whoop, whoop. What's going on, everybody? Zach Walker with Hometown Heartbeat, the pulse of Americana. How you like that? It is, what's today? Thursday. We have a very special guest, but before we get to our very special guest, let us first commence our daily tradition of speaking to the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, our producer, Connor Higgins. What's up, buddy?
Doing good. Producing the show.
As always, a man of such powerful words. I was just impressed with the amount of words that came out there, Connor. It was a well put together sentence. I'll give you that. No, as always, we're super excited to have Connor with us. He has made this the product that you see today. Okay. Now my guest. She is a national treasure. She's the Jewish mother that I never had. She's the owner, salesperson, HR department, marketing, copywriting, authoring, printing, and delivering at Athens Now. And it is my mother, Allie Turner. I excuse the lack of resemblance, but I promise it's true. Allie, how are you today, dear?
I am well. I really am. It's so fun to be able to say that and not be having to say it bravely. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's get this just
Am
a
I
hair.
not quite-
No, just
okay.
a hair. Well, you're just not. I'm a loud guy, so I gotta get your mic adjusted. No, it look, Allie and I we've been trying to get together since the old coronavirus. You know, it's just been tough. You get separated from your people, and then what do? You wait until Meemaw tells you can leave your house again because to heck with civil liberties. But
we digress, huh?
yeah, well, I digress all the
Yes.
time when it comes. This is what I talk about for 45 minutes a day, every single day. So I've become a bit of a, what's the word? I don't know, jaded towards the government. Probably rightfully so. If your boyfriend or girlfriend cheated on you on a regular basis and then came back and said, "But I'm sorry," you'd probably have reason to. But we're not. This is not a political show today. Oftentimes it is. It's become very much so in a way that we think is productive. And what I tell people, I'm a constitutionally conservative Christian. But it's Christian constitutional conservative, right? Because what matters is Jesus, and everything else is dictated by his edicts and mandates all my life.
Exactly
and my
right.
politics, my everything, I hope, flow from a heart that loves the Lord. And so with that, yesterday we had a conversation. I'm interested to get before we dive into our topic, I'm interested to get so when Allie and I get together and talk or get together and chat, usually we try to do it on the phone because if we get together in person, we need to clear half a day off our schedule. But she is someone that I consider a mentor and obviously a friend. And like I said, she really is like another mom in my life. And she's shared many very down, rough days with me, but she's also been a part of some of my greatest triumphs here in the last couple of years or so. And so, bringing this question to you, Allie, is something that this is not a hope of a bit. This is not. I truly am interested in, because the concept of Jesus, his ministry, and politics. Jesus tended to stay away from politics in his ministry and in his life. And so yesterday the conversation was kind of like, where does that fall as a Christian? Like, where does politics fall? Because we can't be, as a citizen, we cannot be deaf or ignorant, willfully or otherwise, to what's happening. But as a Christian, we have to let eternity and the gift that gets us there has to be the sole guide of our life. And so where do you think that falls in broad strokes, not political views, and that's not the goal. I'll do that when I don't have another local business owner on and put them on the spot, but
No, you're
but
fine.
not minute level, but broad strokes. Where does politics fall in the life of a Christian?
Well, you have to have your premise, in my view, start with, he has shown thee, O man, what is good. And what does Yahweh require of thee but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. So that's the foundation right there.
That's a good word.
Yeah. And so from there, you have to find out, I would say, through intimacy with him, your times with him, worship, journaling, dreams, prayer. What is my next step? What is my assignment? Because I don't think we can really define it for the body of Christ in general. And let me flesh that out a little more. I got saved in Jesus, people, 50 years ago, okay? And it was a wild time. It was wild and wonderful, and true revival is the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Man, we've had this conversation so many times, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. And see, at the time, and then I gave up my scholarship to a conservatory of music, and I went to a theological school. And at the time, late great Planet Earth was, the hot eschatological work. And I really honestly thought that I wouldn't raise teenagers and that I wouldn't live past 30 because Jesus would come. And so I had no room back in those days for any political involvement at all. My feeling was that the entire shooting match was completely corrupt, and so
which it is, in all fairness.
Well, but the only thing to do was to get the gospel out, and that was that. That was the only thing that was reasonable. So I missed out on things like, even though I was alive, I missed out on like the Reagan administration. I missed out on some of the things that happened in the House, and I still didn't have much room for anybody being called to that. But then I began to meet people that were, and they were inarguably called. And they had been given, I think, amazing gifts, being able to traverse the swamp and not become a part of it. And so what I'm trying to say in all of that is the broad stroke is personal calling, and then keeping that premise, and then joining together with others who are like-minded. And that isn't always going to be real tidy. I mean, you look at the people, the college that I did go to for a year before I went to theological school was Oberlin College, and it was the last stop on the Underground Railway. In fact, there were still buildings there that had places where people were hidden, and had a disproportionate African-American population because people escaped there and stayed there and married and had families and farmed and became a part of that. And Charles Finney was the one who started it, and he was complicit in resisting because it was Oberlin College that was involved in the Underground Railroad. So what I'm trying to say is there are times, and they really have to be prayerful, and they have to be, in my view, there has to be a manifest proof of what you are doing in terms of fruit and fruit that remains, that just, if I can put it that way, justifies that.
Sure.
And so I do believe that we are to stand up for the Constitution. I mean, next to the Word of God, it's the most remarkable document that's ever been.
Are you listening?
It's the most remarkable document that has ever been made. I mean,
and by the way, for those of you that are out there that don't understand the history of this great nation, the Constitution was written by a bunch of men that love Jesus, and if you don't believe that, one, you're a fool, but you just don't know your history, and for that, I'd be happy to educate you. In fact, just every day at 4:00, tune in here, and you will get an education. But it was written by men that were, in my opinion. Now, look, I don't know the men. I can't speak to their personal conviction, their personal salvation. Even, of course, that's not something for me to speak to for any man, but myself. But those men were seeking the heart of God in establishing a republic that honored God, that centered around a God, and that prevented that very government from creating a single God that could then be forced on you. And so it's with that mentality that I don't know about you, Allie, but I cannot stand getting off in that world where it's like separation of church and state. There's no prayer in school. There is no such thing as separation of church and state.
Exactly. That is not a constitutional concept.
You cannot establish a religion and then force it upon your people. But you also will not abridge their right to whatever it is that they want to do religiously.
Right. That's right. And that is not a part of the Constitution. That's one of the biggest snow job, shall we say.
Oh, that's a good one. Snow job. Connor, write that down. That's a snow
that has
job.
been foisted on the American people because it's not a part of the Constitution.
No,
it
it's
was
not
a
even
private
real.
letter.
Yeah.
It was a private letter between Jefferson, and I can't remember who the other fellow was. And it had to do with a very limited concept, and they already understood the context. So what the people who decided to try and make that a part of our Constitution did, and it was a brilliant stroke in terms of
Well played.
deception.
Well played.
Very well played. Was to try and convince people that, you have Mikey Weinstein, who, poor guy, what a name to have. Mikey Weinstein, who instead of, he formed the, not the freedom of religion.
Ooh, here we go.
Freedom from religion. And
Those clowns.
Yeah.
Good
and
Lord.
so I've written about them a number of times because.
I'd like to talk to them face to face.
Well, yeah, but see, here's the thing.
I'm talking about I'd like to get all up in their grill.
Honey, here's the thing.
I'd unleash the beard on them, Mama.
Yes, you would, and therein lies the question. Here's what I'm all about. I am good for a good, decent, lively disagreement when it comes to the Republic. But as I've gotten older, now that I am technically a senior citizen,
do you have a double ARP card? AARP?
I will never have an AARP card.
But the roadside assistance is so good.
I don't care.
Okay. Well, if you ever get a flat tire, I'm just saying.
Well, I have roadside assistance with my insurance company. Thank you very much. No, I will never have an AARP card. Okay.
I'm not even going to ask why. So continue.
Because of their politics.
Oh, here we go. I knew it. And this is where I'm going to get crucified by my audience here because I'm the guy. I'm glad we went here because it's. Do you want to finish your thought? Finish your thought before we go on a hard right.
Forgive me.
I'm gonna mark that. I'm gonna come back to it. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
You've got to let me finish my sentence.
I'm sorry. Well, you took me in a more interesting place.
No, you asked me a question and I answered it.
But you led
took
me
yourself
down
there.
the
No.
road. Okay, fair enough.
Took
Finish your
yourself
thought.
there. Okay, here we go. So, this
is how it is every time we're together. By the way.
Yes, as I've gotten older. And hopefully closer to the Lord, hopefully have more wisdom and certainly more experience. As you get older, I would say that it's time to choose your battles. And so this is where there's a huge difference between my husband, Steve, and me. He is able to mix it up and really walk away. For me, to just mix it up for mixing it up's sake, I don't have that kind of energy to spend.
Sure.
But
to spare even would be maybe a better way because you have plenty of energy. But but seriously, that's an important point. Like that is to the mixing it up part and the small talk and the friendly just banter. Like that is for me. That's another that is a layer of life that is not necessary for me. Right. And so my energy, I have plenty. You and I both plenty of energy. I have to focus my energy in places that are where there's a 4-alarm fire and I've got to put it out. And so I would love to mix it up. If that was, if I had nothing else to do, I could see myself liking to chat, both of us. But it becomes a matter of priority. You squirt your water gun as many times as you can until you run out.
Exactly.
And you can't run out with something important to do.
Well, and here's the other thing. I try and walk, and I certainly fail at it, but I try and walk in my calling. And I try and listen as to, is this my assignment? If it is, I will give it my best. I will give the most cogent, case. I will pray. I will ask questions. I will do my best to be as equitable as possible, but as direct and truthful as possible. But if it's not my assignment, I'm trying to get really good at not spending energy on things that are not mine to spend. And that's why when people began to talk about having governmental anointings, I had to respect that because they were energized. And I think that's one of the checking off the boxes. If you are energized by what you are doing instead of drained, there's a different Holy Ghost energy. If you're energized by it, the chances are you're in the zone and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. If you are played out and you just felt like you got the bazats beaten out of you, it may be that you were moving in your own strength, moving in your own anointing, if you will. And I try to be way more careful about that than when I was younger.
And I want to translate what she's saying because it's speaking to me in a very powerful way. But for a lot of you that may not may not look at the world the way we do, that may not look at Jesus in the way that we do, that may not understand what we know, or what we certainly believe. We would say that we know it, but what we believe about Almighty is that in people's lives, there are things that you want to do, and there are things that you have to do. There are things that you'd like to do, and then there are things that you need to do, and so for us, our life is dictated by what we would consider the call that she's talking about. For a lot of people out there, may not understand what that means. That may sound weird, right? That may sound weird to people.
It may be too woo-woo, but let's put it this way: sense of purpose. Just the thing that you think about that lights you up, that when you lay in bed at night and you're not stressing over something, but you're thinking about something.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I would call a call.
And I'll take that a step further. It's the thing that you can't get away from.
Right.
It's the thing that no matter what you choose to do, no matter where you want to go, you might get somewhere close. There are a lot of people that are very successful and never follow their call. So don't hear me say that, well, if you follow your call, you'll be successful, or that no, it's not. But certainly I would argue that people that don't know their call and their purpose find themselves oftentimes, no matter what level of success, empty. Mm-hmm. And with a void and without hope and without all that. And so, it's so important what she's saying and how that relates to government for us as people. Like, Allie has a way of talking that is, to me, I enjoy it, but I can understand, like, she's very educated and very intelligent. So I'm going to dumb this down for the rednecks out there, okay? Because guys like me, I know, I've known you so long, and we speak Jesus, right? And so I know but I want to dumb this down for you, because I had to have it dumbed down for me once. And so, like, Jesus does play in politics. Now, let me, before you slap me or send me the angry email that I won't even reply to, just in case you were curious, you can go ahead and delete that now. When I say that, I mean that Jesus calls men and women across his body to public service in politics. Jesus doesn't play policy. That's not what I'm saying, okay? Mm-hmm. He's not right, he's not left, he's not red, he's not blue, okay? He's blood of the lamb. That's who he votes for, right? And so at the end of the day, like, as we as Christians and as people have to take our convictions and pray for, if you're a believer, pray for God to show you what it is that his word says about fill in the blank. Fill in the blank. So if it's politics, if it's the girl you're dating, if it's your soon-to-be wife, if it's am I going to have a kid, if it's am I going to take a new job, if it's, as Christians, we say, Jesus, what would you have us do about blank? And so politics is no different. And that's where I was going to get. It's a perfect segue into what I interrupted you with in that like you and the AARP, right? Immediately. So I said, hey, she made a senior citizen comment. I made a joke. Do you have an AARP card? I'd kind of like one because I like the discounts. But she said, absolutely not. Never, because of their politics, right? I don't know anything about their politics. And what's weird about me, and where I think this Christian and politic thing intermingle in a very uncomfortable way for a lot of your right and left, but mostly right people, is that, like, so I get in trouble with my constitutionally conservative friends because when Colin Kaepernick refuses to stand for the national anthem, I don't really care. Does it bother me? Well, sure, it bothers me. I was a service member that signed up to give my life, if I was called to do so, for this great country, and for that man's right to take a knee, to burn a flag, to fill in the blank. And so, no, I'm not going to boycott the NFL. Could care less. I could care less. I hope that they do not restrict players' rights that are constitutionally granted to them to protest. That being said, as a free market capitalist, I thought the NFL should have, let's take the players off the field, and now there's no issue because it doesn't matter. We're going to have no players on the field, and you know what? If you do kneel and your team says don't do that, they have the right to fire you because in this world, in this way where we live, companies have the right to hire and fire and to dictate if I'm going to write you a check. If I say, Allie, would you like to come to work for me? And Allie says, absolutely, I would. And I say, great. The only thing that, here's our handbook. And as long as you're not drinking and smoking and your hair's not bright green, it could be any color but bright green. But as long as your hair's not bright green, you have a job. And she walks in day one with bright green hair. She will not make it to day two.
Right.
You know why? Because I can make those decisions.
Because you own the business.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And so and I know it's taken me a minute, so bear with me. But where I'm going with all this is a lot of people find themselves torn between like a product, AARP, and their politics, or torn between, and it's not, and this is not about the AARP again. Like I said, I don't know anything about their politics, and I would bet you that if I gave her the opportunity to explain that, she would have a rock solid Jesus-based approach to why she doesn't want to support them. And that's the right way to live as an American Christian in this government and in this world. And so it's one of those things where like I choose Jesus first, America second, right? Like that's my loyalty. I mean, my family obviously has their, I mean, we're talking about very different things. So I've gotten the email. Okay. I got it, Karen. Keep your email to yourself, Karen. And Karen's not a real person, by the way. It's a joke. Karen's a figurehead of like, have you not seen the Karen memes?
I have not.
I have to bring her out from underneath her rock from time to time.
Yes.
So Karen is the person that tattletales on the person not wearing their mask, or the person who was 5'11" away from the other person, not
Right.
6 feet. That's Karen. So Karen is not. I saw her eyes light up, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, he just called out a Karen that sent him an email." No. Karen is she was going to whoop me after the show. She was going to wear. First of all, she was going to ask me to read. She was going to ask me to read the email, and then she would have laughed, and then she would have whooped me. But no, in all seriousness, like it's we have to drive all that we do by the principles that we've discussed this entire time, right? Like our politics, our everything is, for us, it's very easy. It's very easy. There's a book. I've got a code book. I'm in real estate, right? So when we build a neighborhood, we've got a code book. The code book tells us what we can and can't do. We've got to be X amount from setback lines, and we got to have this, and we got to have that, we got to have this. Like my politics are very easy. Very easy. I've got a book that tells me how to feel about certain things. Now, that being said, this is where it gets gray, right? Mm-hmm. God's word is not black and white in most cases.
That's right.
Now, God is not ambiguous. And so it's that back and forth it's literally the process of sanctification. Like it is your entire life. The rest of, from the time you meet Jesus to the time you pass on, hopefully into eternity, you're dealing with that concept of like, God's not black and white.
You're grappling every day.
Every day.
And the whole point of the grapple, and this is what people have to realize.
Come on with it. Preach, Mama.
The point of the grapple is intimacy. Mm-hmm. The point of the grapple is to wrestle with the angel until you walk with a halt. The point of the grapple is to absolutely cause the person who's grappling to fight and then fall into the arms of the one who loved them, made them, died for them. And it's messy. See, this is the thing.
Ministry's messy. Jesus is messy.
He was totally
life is messy.
Yeah. Yeah. And so especially in Western Christianity, we buy into an idea that once you become a believer, that everything's tidy. But that's not biblical.
So we did this the other day. It was my little sister came, and so she's 4 years younger than me. Never in a million years, like we've traded surprises at this point, because never in a million years, knowing the Zach that she knew from her birth to probably 26 years old. She would have never had that Zach to officiate her wedding. Well, I met Jesus, and I officiated my little sister's wedding. It was the hardest day of my life. I've never cried more. I've never been more proud, all at the same time. In the same way, I would have never in a million years expected that my little sister would come right here and sit right where you are, and we would talk about church planning with her and her husband, Jonathan, who is a man of a great man of faith. And we sat right here, and we had a lot of these same conversations the other day. And I don't know, it was, I kind of lost my train of thought. I got to thinking about little sister's wedding, and how did I interrupt you there? Because I really wanted to make that point. What was I going to say? I'm so upset right now. I'm so mad. Bailey, it's your fault.
Well,
what were you saying? Say it. Connor, can you replay that? What was she saying? I just completely derailed myself.
We were talking about life. Life in the spirit is a grapple, and it's messy. And we buy into the idea in Western Christianity that once you become a believer, that everything becomes tidy.
We were talking about this.
Just isn't.
I got it. We were talking about this. We were talking about how the modern church. Well, two things. One, have you seen the new? You probably haven't read it because it just came out. There's a book just came out, The Unsaved Christian. There is an author, a prominent Christian author, who is making the assertion that the largest unreached people group that no one is talking about is the unsaved Christian, the American unsaved Christian that goes to the church, that tells them that they pray the prayer or they do this or they do that, and then nothing else matters,
Right.
or whatever. Fill in the blank. And what where we landed on it was like I came up in a very different. I came up very legalistic and in a Church of Christ, and now and God. I mean, I separated from Christ for years and years and years, and then 6 years ago, I see. This is where it gets messy. A lot of people would say, well, you came back to the flock or whatever. And I would say I was never saved until I truly met Jesus and entered into a relationship with him. And the reality is the American church says this. There's a big emotional moment. We've got great music. Oh, and then a pastor gets up, he's probably wearing some skinny jeans with some holes in it and a backwards hat and some thick rimmed glasses that he probably doesn't need. And he says, if you need to do business with God, or if this music has reached you and God is stirring in your soul, come now while we stand and sing. And everybody stands up and there's this big emotional response and we all run to the front of the stadium. We fall on our face. We say, Jesus, oh my gosh, Jesus, I love you so much. You're the greatest thing in the world. And then for the next 6 months, we do nothing. And so this American concept that you're talking about, and it is uniquely American.
It is.
I mean, and those, and we are running out of time quickly, and we've not even touched what we want to talk. So we're going to go there next. So we're not going to go. We're not even going to respond to this. But for those of you that don't know Allie, she was a missionary to the Middle East that was in the house of Saddam. That, I mean, she, if you don't know her backstory, and we're not going to, like I said, I'm not, and I preface that because I know that if we dive into that, we'll spend another 30 minutes and we'll never talk about anything we wanted to talk about. But this woman knows what's uniquely American and what's not. And I leave and go to Central America often, and I spend time there, and I've traveled I'm very blessed to have gone in a lot of places, but not like this woman. And so when I tell you that this Christianity that is, what's the right word? Emotional, maybe is the right word. I mean, it's a very emotionally shallow, it's emotional, but shallow. Like it's a response based. It's a feeling.
It's a need based.
What's a feeling? But need based is all of us. When I'm talking about the feel good base, it's my need. There it is. I'm a needy person and I need some Jesus, and I'm going to get a shallow emotional version of him.
It's like, what about Bob? I need. Yeah.
I mean, and so anyways, this all started with politics and how does Christ play a role in politics? And I think we're still right there. The reality is if you call yourself a Christian, let me back up. If you don't, then you and I, this conversation probably, I hope you heard about Jesus, and I would love to share about how his son died on a cross for you and for me, and how that could impact the rest of eternity, and generation after generation after generation to follow you. I'd love to tell you about Jesus and how he rescued me, a drug addict and an absolute moron, from a life of ridiculousness and delivered me into a place where I'm at today. I'd love to tell you about all that. But if that's you, then I guess you're probably lost right now. And for that, I apologize. Give me 3 minutes. No, maybe 2. We'll get to what we want to talk about in the home show here in Athens. But for the next 60 seconds, listen to me. Listen to me. If you're an American Christian, if you claim to be a believer, if you go to church on Sunday morning, and if I ask you right now, are you a Christian? Are you saved? Are you in the Lamb's Book of Life? Like, is your eternity set? And your answer to that question is yes. And yet, the principles that are laid out for you in black and white and some gray, but that are laid out for you in God's word, do not dictate everything in your life. Not just what you do on Sunday morning and Wednesday nights and Sunday nights of Church of Christ. I'm kidding. I take it back. I'm kidding. Don't be mad. But if that book doesn't dictate those things, but also, hear me out, this is going to be uncomfortable. I'm sorry. Your checking account, your savings account, ooh, that's hurtful. And I get that. I'm talking to me, by the way. I'm not preaching. I'm preaching to nobody but me right here. I hope it impacts you too, but I am talking to me right now. If it doesn't impact those things, your politics, your business, your marriage, your being a dad, being a mom, being a whatever it is, if your life isn't driven by those principles laid out for you in God's word, and you call yourself a Christian, I would potentially argue that you may be that unsaved Christian we just spoke about. And so for that, I want you to know that there are resources available for you. I would love to talk to you. Look, no greater sinner than I. I am the greatest of these sinners, right? And so I would love to share my story with you. I'd love to talk with you about whatever it is. I know Allie would in a heartbeat. Now, if you call me, you probably need an hour. You call her, you might need 2.5, but you're going to get a lot more out of that, okay? So, no, I mean, look, at the end of the day, this all started in politics and in Jesus, and I'm glad we went there because honestly, it's that's usually when I call Allie, it's because I need to be renewed in my pursuit for real relationship. It's not about religion for me and Allie when we talk. It's about a pursuit of an authentic. She's seen me at my worst, and she knows who I am, and she knows who God made me to be, but she also knows who I'm supposed to be. And so find that person in your life. Like, find that person that you can call. And good, bad, or ugly, she's seen me without my makeup on. That's all I'm saying, okay? She's seen me in sweatpants, no makeup, and that's just part of it. And
yoga pants.
Ooh, I don't know about that. That'd probably be a don't
just
close your eyes. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Imagine it. But no, I mean I don't know. It's just one of those things that, I mean, we find ourselves in this political conversation on the show, and where we're headed. We have an announcement to make tomorrow, by the way, which you want to be here for. But where we're headed, it's going to be very political. And so I am really maybe just talking to myself, trying to center myself, trying to remind myself of what dictates my policy. But it's also a message that people need to hear, because down here we are quick to scream, Bible Belt, I'm a Christian. But keep all them immigrants out of here. We're not going to take care of the orphans or the widows if they're Mexicans or whatever. Like, it's just a nonsense that God's word does. We want to grab onto this, but we're going to let this go over here. And that's just not how it works.
Right.
And so that's all we're going to talk about that today. I know that's probably not a great ending point, but we're going to go into what we actually meant to spend 30 minutes. So we've spent 34 talking about that. Now we're going to spend what we originally meant to spend 30 minutes talking about, which is the Athens home show. So we had this home show planned, right? And we, man, it was going to be, and it's going to be. It's going to be
awesome.
So when you hear me say that, and you're one of our sponsors, don't be like, wait a minute, what? We're going to have the show.
Yep.
But it was going to be really cool. We had we have some great sponsors, but let me talk about it in the past tense because it was already supposed to happen. So that's okay. So we had great sponsors. We had Surface World. We had River City Roofing. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on about what we were doing. We were going to have a furniture showroom in the building. We were going to food trucks, all of it. And like 2 weeks out. It was 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, 2.5 maybe.
Yeah, but 2.5 before the show. Allie walks in and was like, "What's COVID going to do to this old home show?" And I'm like, "Nothing. Yeah. Civil liberty, baby. Constitution. What's up?" And oh boy, did she know better. But you know why? Because wisdom's a heck of a thing. But so basically, Meemaw Ivy decided that we need to shut down. Which, in all fairness, and just so you know, I know you haven't watched the last 40 something episodes. We have from day one said we did what we needed to do early because we had no idea. And as human beings and as Christians, we wanted to protect all the lives of those that were in the at-risk category. And so we did exactly what we should have done.
Exactly.
We're not going to dive into what we're doing now because we all know it's dumb. But we are now looking at how do we bring the show back to life, because we have what we wanted to bring to Athens is absolutely still necessary.
Absolutely.
People, hey, guess what didn't slow down during COVID? You want to know? The housing market. You know why? People are still moving here. There are still jobs being created. There are still businesses being grown, yada, yada, yada.
Birthed and rebirthed.
Birthed and rebirthed. Yep. And if you went through this and didn't get a PPP loan, you might be doing both of those. And so, I'm sorry, I stepped on your foot. But the question she asked me on her way over here was, what are we going to do about this thing? And so my answer to that, and I told her, I said, we'll talk about this on the air. So you're actually hearing us flush this out for the first time, by the way, live here on the show. My answer is I don't know. We are definitely going to have the show. So the show will happen. There's no question about that.
The show must go on.
The show must go on. It's going to be hotter than blue blazes because we were going to do it at the perfect time of the year when it was going to be, 70-something degrees and cool. We might look, what if we look to change venue? What if we look, I mean, we are not opposed to doing anything. We might, what I do know we will do is all of our original vendors will be here. And we will provide for you more value than you would expect in a show like this, because from the beginning, our goal was to be focused and boutique feeling and being very intimate and very informative and
celebratory.
Yeah, and like we've all been to a home show before. I love the home show, the Athens home show, the Huntsville. I mean, I've been to all of them, and there's just a wealth, a multitude of information, and but it's so big, and so like we wanted that. Let's find some let's find some key industry leaders. Let's find the best at what they do, and let's bring them in, and let's put people in a place where, hey, you know what? I really need some landscaping done. Well, you don't have to go talk to 73 of them here. You've got one that we vetted, we know, we trust, whatever. Fill in the blank. And that might have been a bad example because I don't even know if we have a landscaper. But let's say roofer.
You were going to look into the national treasure himself.
Well, so I did.
Yeah.
I did. Garth Laverne, who needs to come join us. If you're watching, Garth, you need to be on the show. And he couldn't do it because of date, but that doesn't mean he can. And maybe that's the plus in all this.
Well, and see, I think people need to understand kind of what first inspired us was the fact that because of the very growth that we are experiencing, the Vets Museum, which has always been the site of our local home show, if you want to call it that.
Well, that's what it was called.
Well,
it was the home show.
Yeah.
Home and garden show.
Home and
sorry.
garden, yeah.
I forgot the garden part.
Right. And so the Chamber of Commerce was not going to be able to do it because the Vets Museum is moving over into the event center, and they are going to be doing a bang up job of getting that ready in order to give our vets even more honor than they already have. And so it was a logistics thing at first. Then it became a COVID thing. But what we were after, really more than anything, was to have information, but to celebrate spring and to celebrate what was going to be coming our way, and to build community, build relationships, so that we could prepare well for the onslaught of folks that are coming here. And this is going to bring this back to some Jesus stuff. I'm sure that
everything does
always, but I think you and I have had this conversation. There are people who have moved here, and they don't even really know why they are here. They just knew that they were supposed to come here. And my sense from my time with the Lord and things that I've heard from people that I respect, Athens is going to be a portal of revival. And when I talk about revival, I don't mean that it's something that you plan a year ahead. It's not something you put in your bulletin. It is not something that you put on your sign, your reader board sign. When revival comes, it is upending, it is messy, it is the good, the bad, and the ugly. It is disruptive. And I believe that people are being brought here to perhaps help navigate or participate or lead.
Probably participate, if we're being honest.
Yeah, if you lead. But I love the history of revival. And
yes, she does, by the way.
Yes, I do. And we're going to have one. So why not build the kind of relationships that you need, cross-pollinate with other believers and other churches, get ready, because when true revival comes, everybody needs to step up and be a part.
Yeah, no, participating doesn't work when it starts. I mean, you have to join in and be an active part of. But at the end of the day, while I definitely agree with her stance on the revival, the home show that we were looking to put together would certainly, obviously, be hopefully a facilitator of that. But what we really wanted to do, on top of everything she just said, was to create an environment where you could come and find real vendors that could do real things, that did real quality work, that did real good prices, and that were real good people.
And could educate you as
bingo.
needed, answer questions, put you at ease, help you to make an informed decision.
I mean, we even had Lowe's. We have Lowe's.
Yeah.
Have whatever.
Absolutely.
So look, we're going to do it, okay? Stay tuned. We will let you know. I mean, right now we cannot do it. We don't have, I mean, the guidelines have not allowed for this mass of a gathering per se, unless you're, I mean, maybe Lowe's could help us figure out how they get around the rules. But anyways, that's neither here nor there.
Did you say that?
I did. I mean, I don't need to tell you this. I'll say anything. If I believe it, I'll say it, and there's no holding back. So no, we will absolutely have the show. I mean, you've been patient for thus long. You're not going to not be patient anymore. There will be a new event page that we will create. Unfortunately, our event page, it wouldn't let us continue to extend and extend and extend. And so
I went to try it and go, well, how do we tell people it's not happening
and she starts texting me at like Saturday. It's like Friday at like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. It's supposed to start at like 6 or 7. She's like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, well, I guess we just let it run.
Yep.
Thankfully, no one showed up. So
Yes.
at the time, we were still staying home. But no, we will absolutely have this. We will absolutely. And our goal is to do it better than it was going to. I mean, we've had some time. And hopefully we will be able to do it better. If it gets too hot and before we can do it, we'll find another place to do it.
We'll figure something out.
We will.
Yeah,
and if we have to push it.
See, here's the other thing. This goes all the way back to do justly, love mercy, walk humbly. Okay? We gave our word.
That's right.
Yeah, we gave our word.
Yeah.
And so it falls upon us to make it happen in a way that doesn't just break even, but to make it happen in a way that we deserve the trust of the people who wrote the checks back months ago. And we make it an outstanding event. And who knows? I mean, it might happen again. And if there's one thing that's been really good, I wrote several publishers' points on whether this was a Corona moment or a crowning moment. And I talked about the Corona moments being the goofball stuff like Karen leaving leaving notes on the windshield. Yeah, or hoarding toilet paper or whatever. But one of the things that I really want to talk about, because there always are workarounds.
We are 4 minutes over time. Just
Okay.
a heads up. But
All right.
we can we're never on time. Usually it's a 30 to 45 minute show. We've gone 49. So
Okay.
we're wrapping up. It's like I'm like a Baptist preacher. Okay, this is my third wrap up.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I just want to express my thanks to the people who stepped up and delivered the paper when we couldn't deliver the paper. There were actually people that some were in my BNI group. Another guy is now working for us, where they called us and said, "How can we help get Athens Now out?" And so,
How can we help you get the word out?
yeah, well, yeah. And so
That's cool.
what we had decided to do was to keep the same number of bundles being produced, because Times Daily, who prints us, it's like if everybody cancels, then we don't have a printer anymore. And then we are really in some deep stuff. And so we went ahead and went with the same amount in order to keep their finances and just delivered the very best that we could. And so experiencing that workaround and the community building that came about as a result was extremely cool, and I expect more of that to come.
No, that's cool, and that's the thing, and we're going to end this right here today. We're going to end this with talking about, we talked about being positive and being a light on this, and so here's the thing. Everything you've heard today, a lot of the growth, a lot of what we've learned, a lot of the outpouring of support and generosity and all those things, they have all come as a result of what we're dealing with as a country. And so, I said at the very beginning, and you're going to love this. This is going to strike you. I think at the very beginning, I called this a ground zero moment, in that the ground zeros in my life were 9/11. They were for the generation right before me would have been when the president was assassinated. There are ground zero moments where as a country we have to rally together. We have to figure out how to be American first. Be American first, and then everything else after that: black, white, yellow, green, Jewish, Christian, Protestant, Catholic, whatever. And so I've just been proud to watch. I've also been very disappointed in those of you that have more rump ribbon than you need. But at the end of the day, I'm very proud in Americans and how we've rallied together and been a part of this. Allie, it's been a blast as always. For those of you that wonder what it's like to sit in a meeting with me and Allie, you just witnessed one. So I love you guys. Today is Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday. And you know what that means? I've got a very big announcement. We are going to tell you where we're headed. It's very exciting. I'm terrified and also very excited, but also more terrified. So it's going to be a blast. Allie, I love you so much. If you don't,
back, son.
If you haven't been on their online website, athensnow.com.
Athens Now. AL for Alabama.com. Athens Now, AL.
AthensNowAL.com. Athens Now AL. That'll be in the notes right here at the bottom, or in the comments at the bottom. Check out their website. Great online content. They're coming right on along into the world of Facebook. We're working on that. Okay, but guys, we love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Connor, take it away, buddy.